Hello, CYSE 200 class. Let's see, it's week 4, and this week's reading has to do with the CIA Triad. And by the way, before I get much further with this, I had the due date for the CIA write-up on the 7th, and it should have been the 14th, so I've changed it now online. If you've done it already, great. If you want to redo it, you can, but it's not necessary. But if you were one of the ones that did not do it, and there were actually quite a few who did not get to this, I've changed it to the 14th from the 7th. In fact, I'll change that here in just a bit on the reading monitor. So the CIA Triad, really, really important, as you know, if you've read this material already. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. It's about the CIA Triad is really some of the key tenets of cybersecurity. Keeping the right data and the right information confidential to those that are supposed to be looking at it, and not available to those that should not be looking at it, is something that we obviously need to do, right, as cybersecurity experts. Integrity means that we need to maintain the overall performance of the data such that bad data doesn't take the place of good data. And there are several tools that we have for doing that, systems checks, things of that nature, hashing that you'll see in the accompanying lecture, and things of that nature. But making sure that the data maintains integrity while it is at rest, while it's in transit across the wire, and while it's being processed. Okay. And the A in the CIA Triad stands for availability, making sure that the data is available to those that are authorized to use it, to view it, and to do something with it, and not available to those that are not. The CIA Triad, a key tenet of cybersecurity. Now, the other thing that I'll mention is authentication and authorization. And non-repudiation. That's also mentioned this week. Authentication, meaning that we have the proper security in place to ensure that anyone who's accessing the system is properly authenticated to do that. So when you authenticate, you're going to provide some sort of a user ID. It might be an email address, might be something else, along with a password that allows you to authenticate to the system. Now, there's multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication that we get into also, but essentially when you authenticate to a system, you have to provide either something you know, like a password, something that you are in possession of, maybe like a phone or a fob or a key card or something like that, or something that you are, meaning fingerprints or retina scans, hand scans, your vein patterns in your wrists are all unique to all of us. Those are all different ways that you can authenticate to a system. Then, once you authenticate, what are you authorized to do in a system? You might be authorized to read certain data. You might be authorized to read and write to certain data, or you might be able to read but not write. And then other data you may not have access to at all. Okay, so once you're in the system, what are you authorized to do? And the last notion here is this notion of non-repudiation. What that means is, so we have to have the right checks and balances and system checks, system validations in place to make sure that the data cannot be disputed. In other words, let's say someone logs in. Let's say somehow your payroll is changed. Well, how can you demonstrate that the payroll was changed? Can you demonstrate who changed it? And usually this is done through system audits, login audits, things of that nature. So systems today need to be able to determine exactly when a piece of data changes, we need to know who changed it and what the original value was and what the old value is, or what the original value was and what the new value is, rather. And we have to be able to demonstrate that to the point where you cannot repudiate this data. In other words, you cannot say that, no, I did not change this piece of data. As system administrators, as cybersecurity professionals, we have to be able to demonstrate that, well, okay, you logged into this system at this precise time, you went to this record, you changed it from this value to this value at this exact time down to the millisecond, and then you logged off out of the system using your user ID and password. That's what we mean by non-repudiation. Think about what our systems would be like if we didn't have that. If you could simply say, well, I don't trust this data, I don't believe the data that I'm looking at here. Once you lose trust in the data, you've lost a lot of trust in information technology and by extension cybersecurity. So it's very, very important that our systems be able to maintain a state of non-repudiation, and you do that through various components of the CIA Triad, along with authorization and authentication. So let's see. Next week, well, I have moved the write-up to February 14th here, and in fact, I will do that right now. The following week, we're going to get into the various components of a business. What makes up a business? I'll have another video to follow with that. So I hope this helps. Please notify me if you have any questions. Thanks.